Given all of that, Paul, that you and I lived it together as a part of the California cohort. What was your experience of the losses that we endured?
I've reflected greatly, both as a first and foremost as a father and a husband. That's my first vocation, right? I reflected a lot on that term loss, and having the benefit of individuals in my own family who lived through um, World War II, Great Depression, um, serious consequential environments that challenged individuals and society greatly. Uh, I, I I like to think about this through the context of loss in the moment and gain over time that we must achieve, and we're not quite along that path right now. And seemingly, it appears that we're in this post crisis environment where folks are sort of trying to hang on to so much of what they have lost, whether it was time or gatherings or travel. In our case, formation, which I think is an important element that has to be really raised up and honored. That you talked about all of the incredible performance metrics. We talk about how resilient our ministry has been, and it's because we don't see our ministry through the lens of an occupation. It is a vocation, and it necessitates more than just clocking in and clocking out. Um, and I think that we were tested in ways that we hadn't been in a very long time. I reminded my team and all of our principals and teachers and our family that our church has struggled through periods over the past 2,000 years. We have been challenged as a church and as Catholics tremendously, and previous generations have paid it forward. This is our time. This was been our time. It continues to be our time more now than ever to demonstrate why, in the case of Catholic schools, why education is more than just a cerebral intellectual enterprise. That the reason why we saw what we have seen insofar as student performance and academic in, growth and enrollment growth is because we've been able to demonstrate in a very consequential time that, as it turns out, education is far more than just showing up and working through textbooks and curriculum. That it is an encounter with within a community of learners, both children and adults and families, that necessitate an ecosystem to become thriving, faith filled individuals. And that it's not just an exercise in, again, intellectual um, uh, um, capacity. Um,
Right.
the losses, the losses that people experience are temporal unless we decide to carry them forward and continue to be in a loss deficit environment. Christ's message to us is to not do that. His message to us is to break free from the human condition and the preoccupation with what we don't have instead of what we do have. And what we have and what we learned is that we can't take our communities for granted. And in fact, our strength and power comes from the solidarity that we achieved during this time. And it has been our uh, our it has been our response to an otherwise dark and cloudy world. It suggests that the power of the one is greater than the power of the many. And we do live in a time, John, where our faith requires us to really look beyond the temporal, to really think and pray and care for one another in ways that are deeply challenging, particularly in a secular world that is antithetical to that kind of thinking, especially now, where identity issues are at the forefront
Right.
of conversation. So, the term loss I struggle with in the context of today, because I do believe as a church and as a faith and as a ministry, um, our work is always about the future, and the future cannot look anything like the last 3 years, or
I
it's
hope
going
not.
to perpetuate a self-fulfilling prophecy that children somehow can't get past that moment in time that, yes, deprive them of togetherness, deprive them of community, deprive them of moments and milestones, but that the future promises something more. And that what we gained out of this time was an opportunity to double down on who we are as faith leaders, as faith filled Catholics, and to ensure that this resurrection moment is a moment that we inspire others to want to be a part of.